Now we will have the talk, introductory talk of the three conveners. As I told you, I'm very sorry that Simon Cook and Nicolas Tremblay could not join us, because we have been working together for more than 1 year now to prepare that all together. So I will give the floor to Simon Cook.
Excellent. Well, welcome to everyone. Veronique, lovely to see you, and I wish I was there in person. Welcome to everyone from Western Australia, where it is late afternoon, and where we have no COVID and haven't had any COVID for a long time, but also we have no way out of here either. So I'm very sad not to be with you. Person. My name is Simon Cook. I'm from Murdoch University and formerly with Curtin University. And my opportunity here is just to give a brief introduction to the theme, to the subject of on-farm experimentation. And Myrtille pointed out that I shouldn't assume that our view is everybody's view. So I stress here in my opening slide that this is an Australian perspective. Hopefully what we've learned in Australia is going to be used elsewhere, but I think great that we introduce this into the truly international conference on farm experimentation. And I'm very, very excited that we've actually got this happening. And thanks to Liva and the OECD for funding this. It's been quite a long time getting here. I'm very excited that we've actually finally got to this point, and extremely sad not to be present. So here we go. Where we started with all of this. Well, this picture here was our first on-farm experimentation. We got into it almost by accident, and we did this one in, I think it was about 1994, in fact. And so very proud to have this image of a checkerboard trial, what we call the checkerboard trial, which was a very large-scale experiment, nitrogen experiment of farmers' field. Very excited to show this one, and part of me says, well, look, how innovative we were to do this almost 30 years ago. We had this idea over 30 years ago. Part of me says, I think we better keep that quiet, because it also shows how stupid we were not to be able to get it move much more further in the 30 years that preceded. But the point about this experiment, the on-farm experimentation that we started in the 90s, was that it was really an exploration using data technologies, using precision ag technologies. The farmer was very keen to pursue this idea, and so it was extremely farmer-centric. The farmer decided, and we agreed with the farmer what we would do, and the farmer knew what he would do with the results. We decided from the outset to go for full-scale experimentation, to adopt an industrial process control approach rather than a normal scientific approach of do things in trial plots and then try and scale out. So we decided from the get-go to try and develop the concept at full scale as managed. And we saw ourselves as researchers as enabling a process. We didn't see it as being our process. We saw our role as trying to engender a process with farmers and for farmers to pick it up. And our experience with farmers then was that all farmers we spoke to liked the idea. When we worked with farmers to pursue this approach using their precision agriculture technology, we were amazed with the degree of innovation that they brought to the process. And quite often we had trouble keeping track of their ideas and their design approaches to design. So we knew that farmers liked it. However, at that time, we lacked support, I'd say. Agronomists that we spoke to didn't really like it very much because they couldn't get very clear answers, even though that was what the farmer actually saw. And at that stage too, we were hamstrung by a lack of analytical techniques and ability to handle data easily that now don't exist. So we thought we were all very clever about doing this way back then, 30 years ago. And then subsequent to that, we found that in actual fact, the approach of being farmer-centric had preceded us by some way. And so when we look back, we found that in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of work, particularly in the CG, around lower and middle income countries, trying to develop an approach of farming systems research, and then later to develop programs of farmer participatory research. But those actually lacked our access to data to make the process easy. And where we are now, I think we have a convergence of data availability, but also an understanding of the approaches and developing business models to enable the process to be scaled out. And we'll see some examples of that over the next couple of days. Where we are now too is a very exciting place, because as this graphic from Myrtille's paper in Nature shows, there is now a sufficient weight of experience globally from Bruce Maxwell and colleagues' experiments in Montana in the US. Several places in Montana are developing on-farm experimentation, and I believe we'll hear quite a lot about those from Dave Bullock and others. A lot going on in Europe. We continue to do our work here. There's work in Latin America. There is work going on in Australasia, and also we are expanding work, and we will hear from colleagues in Africa who are developing the approach. So now we have got to a point where we do have global experience, and we can really build on that and use this conference to really move things forward. At the same time, I'd say there's two major developments that are very important to us and towards extending this process. The first is that there's a lot of activity and a lot of interest now in digital agriculture. People are excited about digital agriculture. It attracts a lot of investment in the technology, even though, frankly, I think in many cases, people are not too sure how to make use of the technologies in a way that is sustaining itself. But there is a real interest in that, and there is a lot more digital technology available that simply wasn't available to us before. The other is that there is a shift towards food systems thinking, and it was very interesting listening to Francois and Patrick talking about this, and it's very clear that Montpellier is a center of excellence in this thinking, as is Wageningen and elsewhere through the world, that we're now not just about production. It's not just producing more that's important, but it's about developing food systems that are sustainable, that feed the natural capitals that they depend on, and that bring people into the process as part of a food system approach. So we're at a very good place, I think, to actually start really moving on-farm experimentation forward. So that's where we are. So where do we need to go? Well, I'd say the situation we have now is that we do realize, and many people realize, the true value of putting farmers in the center of change. It sounds strange to think that we hadn't done this before, but I think there's still a lot of people who don't put farmers in the center of the change process, and yet they're probably much more innovative than we are. And even in the conference, I think we have to be careful to make sure that we distinguish between a researcher-centric process that works with farmers and a farmer-centric process that enables farmers to develop their production systems and to develop the development within food systems. So that's very important. I think that we do now realize that, and many people do. Now we have a situation where there is a lot of data available. There always was data around in precision agriculture, but that's increasingly available. And through remote sensing, the availability of data extends way beyond the users of precision agriculture technology. And that's really important to us. And we're developing applications, for example, in Africa with the Africa Plant and Nutrition Institute to use remote sensing to extend on-farm experimentation as their standard way of doing business. We do now realize that experimentation is a very strong thing. It's a very strong cognitive process amongst farmers, but we do also need to realize that it's not the only data-enabled change that the data can use. So we have to work out how we reconcile the various streams of approaches that are similar, but not exactly the same. So it's not just OFE, but we're focusing on OFE at this particular event. The next point is that we do now realize, I think, that OFE is a process. It's not just a technique. Many of the research papers that we will read tend to stress the techniques because that's what research papers do. But in actual fact, the power of OFE, it is a process built around farmers, and it's a process that creates value for farmers and others within the system, and is so self-supporting. We think that the demand for farmer-centric transformation of food systems is greater than ever. If you want farmers to be in the center of transformation, then OFE is a great way to actually equip them to actually move those systems forward. And demand for that is greater than ever to cope with many of facing food systems globally. And I think there are now many examples of OFE to move away from our few examples that we start with, but towards a much broader change process. And I think to do this, this conference is a fantastic opportunity to help us to organize our knowledge about our techniques, to organize information and understanding of our purpose and the concepts that we bring into it, many of them transdisciplinary, and the science in individual disciplines, but also, again, trying to cross those disciplines to get real change. I think this conference is a fantastic opportunity to get those out and start organizing them. And also to look at the scalars, how we're going to take OFE up to the next level of process. So we do need to link to policy and investment processes that can scale OFE processes up to that. So overall, fantastic work. Veronique, I hope you managed to catch up with some sleep after this conference, because I don't see how you've had much sleep in the past couple of weeks, but many thanks to you and your team for enabling this. I really do wish I was there with you, but I look forward to catching up afterwards in person, and we'll follow in detail these proceedings. So thank you very much. Thank you, Veronique. Thank you all.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Simon. Yes, the team has been really involved in making everything ready for today.
Good morning. I'm Nicolas Tremblay, co-convener of this conference. I'm also working for Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, and I'm a board member of the International Society of Precision Agriculture, which has a community named OFEC, On-Farm Experimentation Community, and I'm the co-lead of this ISPA community. I'm glad to say a few words about why the ISPA so far has been involved in for a year now in the preparation of this important conference, which I think is very timely. The ISPA is relatively old, more than 10 years in existence. For precision agriculture, it's quite something. We have a series of international conferences in our basket of achievements. The next one will be in Minneapolis in June. The 15th conference will happen in Minneapolis next year. We're also on top of the Journal of Precision Agriculture, which has a quite remarkable impact factor of 4.45. Again, the on-farm experimentation community is a part of the ISPA, and if you want to become a member, that's easy. Just get on the ISPA website, and that's quite easy to do. Actually, the on-farm experimentation community is asked for objective to provide on-farm experimentation practitioners with a one go-to source of information, and we believe that this is going to be very helpful for the development of on-farm experimentation in the future. The ISPA has recently revamped the definition of precision agriculture, and it has translated it in several languages. And the definition reads as precision agriculture is a management strategy that gathers, processes, and analyzes temporal, spatial, and individual data and combines it with other information to support management decisions according to estimated variability for improved resource use efficiency, productivity, quality, profitability, and sustainability of agricultural production. It's a long definition, quite comprehensive, but the keywords are really gather, process, analyzes data, combines it with other information to support management decisions. Obviously, this has much to do with technology, but not only, and I think it's important to stress the fact that technology is not enough to really succeed in precision agriculture implementation. So it's no wonder that precision agriculture has much to do with on-farm experimentation. While we go back to precision agriculture origins in North America and Minnesota, actually in early 90s, which goes straight in line with the ISPA as an organization. But precision agriculture has always been based on GPS, on many sensors, on gizmos of all sorts. And the goal is to harness variability to make it useful, to adapt to it. And initially it was really focused on the spatial part of it. But now with the definition we have developed, we also include temporal and individual, for example, genetics variability as of equal importance. And so far, we must admit that the tech fallacy related to precision agriculture has led to many disappointments. The impact, the adoption hasn't been really satisfactory. The impact is not clear enough. And this has a lot to do with the fact that we need to pay attention to the social aspect of precision agriculture. And if we think of it, gathering, processing, and analyzing data, it's all made by people, combining with all other information. It's also a people stuff, and the support of management decision is also related to the way people would use the information developed and the tools as they are used in practice. So people are really at the center of precision agriculture, must be at the center, and I think in the future this will be more and more the case. Because adoption necessitates trust and perceived benefit, and trust emanates from cooperation and mutual understanding. And this is why the ISPA is keen to expand on the precision agriculture impact factors that this conference encompasses. The conference is organized around 4 themes. The first one is value creation, as OFE creates value for varied stakeholders, and this value is shared, and scientific disciplines can contribute to value generation. The second is people and processes, as people are the real key to digital transformation, and this transformation occurs when individual changes scale up through their networks and their organizations. The third is data and analytics, as appropriate procedures and well-targeted analytics can be deployed to exploit the valuable data and metadata collected on the farm. And this is where precision agriculture is the most useful. Fourth is policy linkages. Currently, initiatives around OFE are happening in spite of funding mechanisms, career paths, and norms favoring traditional experimentation. Harnessing the transformational potential of OFE for agricultural sciences and innovation requires more of a strategic institutional alignment. That's it for my part of the introduction. I'll leave you in the good hands of Véronique for the rest of this introduction part. Thank you.
So now it's my turn, and I would like to conclude this introductory talk of the conveners with explaining my vision. I'm a technologue, basically. My work is to build sensors for agriculture. And I have been embarked with all that wonderful teams, including Myrtille, who will be the chairwoman this morning, in this new field for me. And so I would like to show why this conference was to be held here and now. This first conference on farmer-centric on-farm experimentation with a focus on digital tools. I think that you have understood from the two speeches of François Pierrot and Patrick Caron that Montpellier was a very unique place for research and innovation in agriculture and digital technologies. There are other ones which are unique also around the world. We have the names. There are some in the room. And I would like to emphasize a little bit on the Digitag, which is a digital agriculture convergence laboratory I'm the director of. This is an 8-year project. Actually, this is an institute that has got a 8-year funding from the government. This is around 10 million euro support. We are at the midterm, and yesterday we had our midterm review in Paris. And our aim is to foster through research, innovation and training the responsible digital agriculture. This institute has been set up by 16 partners. Of them are public institutes like INRAE or CIRAT, Institut Agro. INRIA is a French institute for applied computer sciences and artificial intelligence. And half of them are agtech companies, mainly startup, but not only startups. The remarkable things is that now we have been able to gather staff members of around more than 500 people on 29 research units. We are distributed in 3 sites, but the main site is Montpellier with more than 80% of the people. And there are some teams in Toulouse and Rennes. And we, the support, the public support is to co-fund PhD students. We also label PhD students who have got grants from other sources. We also distribute postdoctoral research grant for, we have 18 years of postdoctoral research grants, master internship grants, and we have also money for international mobility. So we invite you to join the research unit. The application has to be carried out by the research unit, so please see the list of the research units and don't hesitate. Now we hope that international exchanges will be able to start again, and there is also money for animation, like we do today. So an important word is responsible, and I would like to make a tribute to somebody who is in the room, it's Laurence Clerks, because 2 years ago he came here and talked about digital agriculture and social sciences, and for me it was like, wow. And so from that point, we really make this orientation of fostering responsible digital agriculture. And so for us in France, it also means fostering digital responsible agriculture. This means agroecology. So now I will make the vision about why is coupling agroecology, what is the meaning of coupling agroecology and digital technologies? Is there something interesting with this coupling? And looking at that, I realized that both are finally disruptive innovations. Agroecology is endogenous innovation, digital technologies are more exogenous innovations, but both are disruptive. And this means that for both there are issues related to adoption. And when you talk about adoption, this means that the farmer-centric approach is unescapable. So it's very interesting to see that both transition, we talk about the agroecological transition and the digital transition in France at present. And so it may be very interesting to couple both, because both requires adoption, both have adoption issues and require farmer-centric approach. So looking at that, I realized that there are two scales in which digital technologies can be coupled with the agroecological transition and the farmer-centric approaches. And of course, these two scales can be put also one into the other. The first one is that digital technologies can help scaling up the agroecological transition. And that's one of the topic we are learning in the Living Lab that we have just set up last year in the Occitanie region. So you can see where the Occitanie region is for the ones who are foreign visitors. This Occitanum is a kind of mirror towards Digitag, which is more academic, and Occitanum is a living lab. So we work with farmers and we test digital technologies in real life with farmers to evaluate their performance with regard to sustainability. And we have been very happy to see that the European Commission also have put that as a topic, because last week was the deadline for a call, and one of the call was really on that topic. What is the added value of digital technologies? Are we able to measure it and to communicate these performances to the farmers? Okay, the second point is that digital technologies can help create knowledge in agroecology, not only being a kind of enabler, but also creating knowledge. And we have to think about that, because agroecology, you all know that, means more combinations of species. You have animal and crops, so this is really much more complicated, of course, much more complex than mere monoculture or conventional agriculture. So more complexity, more combination. Also the integration of the local situated knowledge and the local conditions is very important to take into account and to value this local knowledge and the local conditions. And this leads us to thinking that we have to work differently and to create knowledge differently in agroecology. And so in January, in RAE, there was an internal seminar organized by the Department of Social Sciences together with the Department of Agronomy in RAE. And the conclusion, one of the topic of the conclusions in this seminar, it was about the transition, agroecological transition. And one of the conclusions was that we needed to change the way we experiment. So I'm not the writer, I just took out the conclusion. And this means that now we are going to need more observation. There will be a multiplicity of emerging questions, more combination, and the interaction with actors will be essential. So the conclusion said that we have to go towards new forms of experimentation, which are more decentralized. We need, there is need for imaging, remote sensing, data mining, but also statistics for heterodox systems, etc. And here, OFE may help. And of course, farmer-centric on-farm experimentation enabled by digital tools. So here we are. So about OFE 2021. We are not so much in the room, but there are more than 170 attendees. who have registered, and it was very interesting to see that there are 36 nationalities represented. Of course, half of them are from Europe because it was easier to come. But it's interesting to see that there is a big bunch from North America, but then it is relatively well displayed on the other places of the world. So welcome everybody. An important thing, you have understood that, is that this conference is a little bit maybe different from the real scientific conference you are used to, because we have both to build science and recommendation for public policies. You understand that OECD is really anxious about having us rendering as an output public policy recommendation. So we will have 3 activities. And yesterday afternoon you received a mail describing these 3 activities. Of course, we will have the scientific conference, including the technical tour on Friday morning. We will also have a collaborative building of vision and recommendation. And we will try to make connections, not only here, we have social events that are organized, but also with people who are abroad. So for the scientific conference, because the conference was hybrid, we have replaced the posters by what we call the e-presentations, and these are videos mostly. We have also a process of peer-reviewed proceedings. So there have been 29 papers sent, and there will be peer-reviewed to be sent to the proceedings. But we have also the agreement from Agronomy for Sustainable Development, which is a very good journal, to have a special virtual issue. So some of the papers, I invite some of the papers to contribute with a full paper to Agronomy for Sustainable Development special issue. And we have decided to put awards for the best e-presentation. So you will have to vote. That means that for those who are on Zoom, not in the room, you will have to answer a poll. And for those who are in the room, you will have to get connected via Zoom. You all got, and if you haven't, just tell us, a link Zoom, and this will start this afternoon. Okay, you will have to vote through the pool for the best e-presentations. And there are also best paper awards, and the award ceremony will be tomorrow in the afternoon. Sorry for the ones who will be sleeping at that time. So this ceremony will be late in the afternoon, and so I don't tell more about that now. Okay, regarding the collaborative building of vision and recommendation. So firstly, we wanted to organize a workshop, but it's very difficult to organize a workshop when not everybody is here. So we have prepared a collaborative Klaxoon platform so that everybody, whatever the time, can contribute. And Isabelle Piot-Le-Petit will tell you more about how to use that. Okay, so for 2 days, this collaborative Klaxoon platform will be open to contribute. She will give more details about that. And then on Friday, we'll have a high-level expert panel to sort what have been all the contribution. And our aim is to end up with a manifesto and recommendation for public policies. And so last not least, making connection. So for those who are not here, there are 2 ways for making connection because of the policy on personal data. We were not able to provide a list of people with an email address. So first, if you like, you can write who you are in in the chat, so don't hesitate to do that. I saw that the FAO conferences, a lot of people do that, so please exchange through this field. But there is also another way to exchange, which is to use the B2 Field platform. So you have to register on this B2 Field platform. B2 Field is a convention that will be open on Friday. So you can register until tomorrow. And on Friday, you can see there will be, of course, people from OFE. And please write OFE 2021 in your profile if you want other people from the conference to meet you, because there are also other people and French people also in this conference. Last point, yesterday afternoon you have received email with the links for attendees only. Okay, this is where you can find all the presentation that we have got, the abstracts and so on. So please go and visit, and if you are not on the good time and not able to follow the presentation on time, you can have at least the slides. We will not be able to put the presentations and the videos on the online just after, because it requires too much time for post-processing, but we will do it, of course, after the conference. Okay, and I would like also to emphasize that if you go on this web page, you will find at the end of the web page a small QR code. This is to evaluate the conference. So I like to stress on that. This is for OECD purposes. So if you want to evaluate, you have to think of that, of course, and to try to remind her. So maybe you can go and have a look at what they will ask for. So just you can record. And I think that's all for the general presentation. I just want to say thank you again. Thanks to the sponsors. You can see the sponsor list and you will see it again in the run of the conference. Thank you to the attendees. Thank you very much for those who came and make it. Thanks so much for the organizing team. You did really a wonderful job. And thanks also for the scientific committee. We asked you a lot of work and we will ask more. I just make a small reminder that we'll have to receive the full review on the 5th of November, please. Thank you so much.